So here we begin. Okay. ठीक है, start करें Aditi. So this is the framework of GST. You all know that GST, there was no GST long back. It came to India in 2017, and we had so many laws. And fortunately or unfortunately, I was dealing with all those laws. I was working in a lot of companies where I was handling all these laws which were there prior to GST. I'll just share with you. So, there were a lot of, taxes in India prior to GST came. So now we have only one tax. I mean, of course, we have still some more taxes there. So the taxes were levied either by the central government or by the state government. So if you see this chart, so there was, central levy, which was, levied by the government of India, central government. Okay. So there was, sales tax, central sales tax. Whenever the goods were passing from one state to another, this called something called CST. Normally, a 10% CST was levied on the goods when the goods were passing from one state to another. But if you are able to, give a form which is called C form, the tax would get reduced to 4%. If you are already registered, if you are an end consumer, you have to pay 4%. But if you are doing it for business, then it was getting reduced to 4%. And you had to submit a form. So there was a cumbersome procedure, okay, to avail a lower tax. If you're, you're buying goods for again reselling, then 4% tax. Then the service tax. Prior to GST, we had only service tax, okay. And service tax was also, came into India about 20 or 25 years back. Okay, come. So, so service tax was basically on your mobile phones. You were paying 18% or 12% service tax. Okay, all the services were being taxed under the service tax. You take a consultancy service, you hire a lawyer, or you take any technical consultancy or anything. Okay, a software consultancy. Then the excise duty. Excise duty was on manufacturing. When the goods were being manufactured, there was a levy called excise duty. Now, when I was working with a company called Grasim and a company called SRF, which was in Malanpur, which is very near to Gwalior. So I worked for about 6 years there. So I was handling excise also. And excise was, they used to have a cell called anti-evasion cell, where they had a powers to even arrest you if you were, producing something and not paying your taxes. But they used to do a lot of harassment because they had those powers. So, what happened was that though we were all doing our company called SRF, which was a very ethical company, we were, meeting all the tax laws and diligently following everything. But those people, they were very arrogant. They used to come with, a lot of people and raid our factory, full uniform like police. Okay. And one day I had to, rush to Delhi to get an anticipatory bail for myself. Otherwise, I would have been arrested for doing nothing. Okay. So there was an excise duty, and we used to, they used to ask for a monthly or a weekly kind of some payment so that, they will not disturb you, so that your trucks can pass from the factory without being under scrutiny by the excise department. So at SRF, we are not paying even a single penny. We told them that we don't do anything, so you can come and do anything you want. But in Grasim, when I was working, which is a Birla company, so we were paying them a monthly amount or a weekly amount. Okay. Then we have, a basic custom duty. So custom duty is still there when you import goods from outside India. So you have to pay a custom duty. So that is not part of GST. So this levy still remains. Then we have SAD and CVD. This is called special additional duty. Whenever you import goods from outside India, you have to pay a tax, which is called CVD or SAD. Now, CVD is basically, because when you import goods from India, which are manufactured in some other country, in India we have excise duty at that time. So the excise duty people, the industry said that there is no level playing field, because people are importing goods and they are not paying a manufacturing tax. So their cost is becoming less. So the government said, okay, we're going to charge CVD, which will be in lieu of excise duty. So you import something, you have to pay a CVD, which will be equivalent to excise duty in India. Yeah?
So the difference between basic custom duty and this is that basic custom duty applies to a consumer, but excise is for example, a company is importing.
Okay, just hold on, I'll answer your question. So let me just complete these two very important, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so you have a SAD, which is a special additional duty. Because then the manufacturing lobby said that, when we sell the goods, we have to pay sales tax also. And these guys, they just import goods and they don't have to pay excise duty and sales tax. So government said, okay, there's another levy, which is called SAD, which was basically in lieu of VAT or sales tax. So that means they were tax, then you pay another tax, another tax. When you import something, you have to pay the basic custom duty, because the things which are manufacturing outside, they were so cheap compared to because we were having an inefficient system to begin with. We were not a country where, we were producing at a lower cost. The world, other people, they were more, far ahead than us. So they were able to, manufacture goods and sell at a cheaper price. For example, a lot of things were coming from China. And they have a habit of dumping their goods into the other countries. They want to even incur a loss. Still, they want to kill the domestic manufacturers. So then there was something called anti-dumping duty, which the government levies, okay, with the permission of the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization, which actually restrict the government to levy an anti-dumping duty. You have to prove your case that somebody is going to dump their goods in India because they are going to finish the competition in India. Okay, so anyway, that anti-dumping duty was a separate one, but still you have the anti-dumping duty on steel, which is being manufactured and exported from China. So we have these levies, okay, the SAD, CVD, excise. So of course now everything is not there, okay. So we have, everything gone into GST, okay. Everything has become part of GST except the basic custom duty. When you import something, okay, because it is cheaper, so the government says we are going to levy a tax. Earlier, come, please come. You have to pay a tax. Now, maybe about 20 years back, the tax was as good as 200%. Okay, so you have to pay 200% tax. You are importing a car from outside, so you pay a 200% custom duty, so that it becomes equivalent to the car which is manufactured in India. So it was just to protect the Indian industry. Okay. Of course, then there is something called World Trade Organization, which said that this is not good. So all the people who are buying, whether they're consuming these goods for themselves or for manufacturing, further manufacturing, they should be having a level playing field. Okay, so you can't charge 200% duty. You have to reduce it. You have to bring it down to as low as possible, make it nil. So they brought it. Now it is about, I think, 20 or 25% or 20%. I don't know what are the custom duties now, but they have brought it down significantly, because the WTO gave only about a couple of years for all the countries in the world to reduce the custom duty, so that there is a level playing field across the world, so people can buy at a cheaper price from anywhere they want to buy. Okay, there has to be a free competition. Okay, so once I remember when I was working in a company called SRF, I'll talk about that company also. There's a great story about that company, which is, where, one of our president, he was one day giving us a lecture, in a auditorium. So all this, staff were there, all the officers, everybody was there, and he was looking a bit gloomy that day. So I used to always crack jokes with him, and he was quite senior to me. I was just a chief manager and he was the president. So I said, Mr. D'Souza, you look to be quite gloomy. So what's the problem? He says, that is only I'm going to discuss today. That's a reason I'm not feeling very comfortable. So he said that, the finance minister of India, they have just had a meeting with the WTO authorities. That time, Chidambaram was the finance minister. And he says that they have given a commitment that they're going to bring down the duties from, say, 80% to 10%. And if they do that, then we will be just finished. Because, then the goods will start coming from China. And whatever we are manufacturing, final product, we will not be able to compete with them. So maybe today we are having about some 5,000 employees in the company, and maybe it will become only 1,000. And we have to, so there's Ananya, another Ananya is there, ek Ananya aur bhi hai. Okay. So all the students. अब मैं नाम कुछ भूल गया. निर्दी नहीं, sorry. Niyashi. Okay. Malaika. Navya. Okay. And who else from the last thing? Nirdi has not come? No. Acha. Your name? Nirdi. So sorry. Acha, you are waiting at this thing. So abhi kya hota morning mein when I see people in the morning at 6 o'clock, they are all wearing, everything. So it's become very difficult. So I have to see whether I have to wish them or I know them or not. Sometimes it happens, okay? Fine, sorry for that. So who are there earlier, the last class? Just raise your hands. Achha, you're there. Mukund, हाँ. Who else? Sab naye hai.
Yet to come.
Mukund is there, and then of course this whole batch there. Navya, Ananya topped in the class last time. Okay. And Navya also got A grade, and you also got A grade, है ना? Good. Mukund, आपका भी अच्छा grade था.
I got a B.
B? ऐसे कैसे हो गया यार? तो मुझे बताते ना.
I think I missed in one of the questions. Then after that, one of the.
Okay. I because sometimes I forget names, so I was just thinking about you. So I was not knowing what grade you're getting. Of course, I could have not changed the grade, but anyway. So Nirdhi, she missed most of my classes. What grade you got? A minus. Okay. And she helped me a lot. In this time also she has been working extra time for managing the timings of the class. Okay, so we're talking about that the custom duty was very, very high, and the government had given a promise to the WTO, World Trade Organization, that they'll bring down the custom duties. Okay, so our president said that we have to we'll be out of the competition, and there's another company called JK Synthetics which was manufacturing the same product, and they become a scrapyard now. So they are finished, already finished, and we will be also in the line, and we will be also gone from the competition. And if the China did this, then we will be in a dire soup. And then it happened like that. And yeah, come.
I'm so sorry for disturbing, sir. I did not know there was a class here. I left my bag. Could I
Sure.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, no issues. So where we were. So then the JK Synthetics had become a scrapyard because it was closed. So then the company decided that they are going to work on the cost. They are going to bring down the cost to such a level that we will be able to manage the competition. Okay, we were already manufacturing goods which were of 6 Sigma quality, which is the highest quality. 6 Sigma? Yes. You have heard about the word 6 Sigma? It is a part of the Japanese TQM. So where you don't have any defectives. You don't produce a defective at all, like 4 defectives out of 10,000 or 10 lakhs of production. So that the defectives again are being priced into the final product. Ultimately, it becomes to the cost of your product. Fine. So you reduce your cost so much. You bring down the defects or the manufacturing, reduce the wastages and the defectives in your manufacturing activity. So which will going to boost your cost, which is going to reduce your cost. So he said we are going to work on that and bring down the cost, and we'll become. The idea was to become the lowest cost producer in the world. So that was the kind of a challenge we had taken. And after 5 years we reached to that stage. We were the lowest cost producer in the world. I'll tell you the story. And the company offered us shares. That time they said we will make you all the shareholders, all the chief managers, everybody got the shares of the company. Our share was just 8 rupees. That time, a 10 rupee share was trading at $8, below a level of the value which was issued to the public, and we were into almost like a losses. We had declared a profit of 1 crore, but actually we were into losses. So there was a lot of window dressing we have done, so that the shareholders are not shocked that we are losing money. And then our managing director, he said that this is what we are going to do, and we are going to bring down our cost, and we are going to remain the quality, maintain the quality of 6 Sigma, but we are going to work on the cost. And the cost was brought down, and we became the lowest cost producer in the world. There's a big story about that. I'll share that later. And we got the shares. I got 10,000 shares, okay, from the company. And we were not very happy. We were paying the money, 1 lakh rupees, for something which was only 80,000 in the market, because 8 rupees share was sold to us at 10 rupees. And to cut story short, what happened? The share price started rising. The profit started galloping. And when I last checked about a year back, the share price was 12,500 rupees. and my shares were worth 12.5 crores if I would have held them. They were valuing 12.5 crores over a journey of the 20 years of the company. So that much of the wealth the company has created for the shareholders. Okay. Of course, now the share is just 2,500 because they have given a bonus, 1:4. So if I had 10,000 shares, I would have been holding 50,000 shares. But I bought a property in Gurgaon, which is almost worth the same price which my shares would have been. So I had not lost anything. Okay. Anyway, so I was talking about that these were the central levies, okay, which was levied by the government of India at that time. So they are all been replaced by GST except the basic custom duty. Okay. Then there were some taxes which were levied by the state government, like the VAT, the sales tax. That means the local sales tax. Whenever the goods are passing from one place to another within a state, like say state of Madhya Pradesh, goods are moving from Indore to Gwalior. So every time when you sell, you have to pay a sales tax. It's called the value added tax. It was earlier called the sales tax, local sales tax, because then became value added tax. Then we had the entry tax. When the goods are moving from one place to another, passing through a municipality, you have to pay a tax. So many taxes. So that means the truck which was coming from Kanyakumari to Delhi, it used to take 15 days because it has to pass through various checkpoints and ensure that they are paying all the taxes. So everything has gone now. It takes almost like 4 or 5 days now the truck to reach from Kanyakumari to Delhi because the entry tax, everything has been abolished. Octroi, octroi is again an tax which is paid on the this thing. Then a purchase tax. So there are so many kinds of taxes which are there in the okay. So central and the states, they were both taxing separately to the Indian public. Okay. So this was all the taxes which I have shared. So we have excise duty on the manufacture, service tax on service, sales tax, sale, custom duty whenever you're importing and exporting goods, particularly in imports. When you import goods, you have to pay the tax. And then the entertainment tax. Whenever you watch a movie, you have to pay a tax. So now everything has been actually gone and we have a GST. Okay. So under the GST, tax is levied on supply. So now the word has become supply. Manufacturing, service, all the words have been removed. So there is only something called supply, which takes care of all kinds of event, whether you are manufacturing, whether you are providing a service, everybody is supposed to pay a tax. So they have found a new word which is called supply. Suppose I am supplying something to you, whether I am manufacturing or whether I am a lawyer, I am giving you service. So it's all supply. Okay. Whether I have a house, I am giving it on rent to someone. Okay. Or I have a commercial place, I am renting out to another organization. Still, the house rent is still exempt from GST. Okay. Okay, just hold on. Yeah. Somebody asked a question? Somebody asked a question, so I told I'll answer it later. What was that?
So I was asking the difference between the customs tax and the other two taxes which you said were representative of the manufacturing and the selling.
Okay, so I'll come back to that because those taxes have become irrelevant now. Right. Okay, so spending time, 5 minutes will consume the time of the class. Sure. Okay, so I'm just keeping this thing. And I'll come back to this when we come to when we talk about the taxes again. Okay, this will come again. Fine, so just wait for that. So inefficiency in the old system. So complete complex tax structure. So we had so many taxes. Cascading impact of tax, tax on tax. Okay, first you pay a excise duty, then you pay a sales tax. So there was a tax on tax, and it was increasing the tax burden of the people. Okay, high compliance cost. There was a very high compliance cost. Because you were, business people were, all the time, working how to manage taxes. And, I was working in a department, I was the finance head, one of the plants of SRF. My half the time was spent going to excise authorities, sales tax authorities, service tax. So I was just, spending almost half the time. I used to enjoy, I used to go to Indore, Bhopal and hear cases. So I used to love that, traveling and staying in a hotel and, spending time. But that was consuming most of my time. So the problem was that you were not able to focus on business. You were focusing on tax compliances. And sometimes you have to involve the presidents and the managing director of the company. There was a huge case. So we had almost like, that time 50 crores of tax cases against us. And there was another case of 200 crores also. That was a separate one. So 50 cases of, excise, income tax, sales tax, which I was handling. So there were show cause notices and we had to reply, appear before various authorities. So it used to consume a lot of time. And the management was also interested to know, top management, the president level or the chairman level, where we stand, how much taxes we are paying, and how much is there any penalties we are supposed to pay. Okay. And every quarter, we used to give a certificate to the board of directors of the company that all compliances of all taxes we have, done. Whether it is all these taxes I talk about, or the Factories Act and so many labor laws, we have complied with all the laws so that, the board of directors are assured that there is nothing which should come as a surprise later on, and we will be, pulled up for that. So I was the guy who was collecting all this information, get certification from all the departments, and then passing that certificate to the board of directors. Come. So then, there was lack of uniformity in provisions. So there was a lot of interpretational, issues, whether this is liable to tax or not. Is it liable to sales tax, or is it liable to service tax? Is it a service, or it's a, goods what selling, or we are selling? So there was something, like in telecom, we used to have this problem. When we started, I was working in a telecom company, Vodafone Idea. So then, we used to pay service tax on that. Then we got a demand from the sales tax authorities that this is, you are selling goods also, because there is a SIM also part of this thing. So you should pay tax on that. So we are saying that we are already paying service tax. There is no need of paying a kind of another tax. So the matter went up to the Supreme Court, and then it was decided. It took about almost 5 years to decide the case, and we had to appoint, the highest lawyers of India, like Harish K. Salve and other people, to get a relief from the courts, and spend a lot of money and time. So the need for GST. So now this has all become past. So I will move quickly. Simplified tax structure. So we want to simplify everything, making only one tax which covers all taxes. Integration of prevailing indirect taxes to ensure uniformity. So all these taxes we're talking about, which are levied by the central government and the state government, they were called indirect taxes. The direct tax is income tax, which we are going to study later. All taxes are indirect. Direct is when we pay ourselves by filing a return as an individual or as a company when we earn something. Okay. But indirect taxes, when I purchase something, I have to pay a tax. When I go and eat in a restaurant, I pay a tax. It's an indirect tax what I'm paying. So all these indirect taxes have become only one now, which is called GST. Earlier we had so many. Availability of credit. When the goods are being passed from one channel to another, somebody is paying excise, somebody is paying sales tax on the same goods. So there was a cascading impact. Because of the new law, the cascading impact has gone, barring only on petroleum products. I'll tell you why, but later on. Okay, only petroleum products or some more products. Okay, where the problem still remains. On diesel, on petrol. Diesel and petrol, the same thing. Okay, the government collects a lot of taxes. Almost, there is a tax rate of 25%, 20% tax. Okay, under the VAT. Sales tax. So there's a, or maybe excise, I'm just forgetting that. Let me just, because everything is gone now. So we have to pay a lot of taxes, 20%, 25%. Each state, whenever the goods are being purchased, when we buy a diesel or petrol, we have to pay a tax. So all the governments are collecting huge amount of money from the people, either from the people or from the companies. So it's a great revenue source of income for them. So they never wanted to give their right. They said, okay, for diesel, petrol, everything, the old system is going to prevail. For everything, the new system can come. And there was a lot of debate, and all the states, they wanted, because they were losing power. Because the state was levying taxes on the public. And after the GST, now they have taken, that power is gone from this thing. The power is now vesting in GST Council, where all the states are part of those council. Okay, every finance minister of the state is a part of GST Council. So first they have to scrap their old laws, and they'll lose power of taxing from the state by the state themselves. Okay, so now the power remains with the central government, Council of Ministers of the states, as well as the finance minister. She is the chairman of or the head of the GST. So they had to give up this right of taxing, because earlier they were passing their laws within their own local assemblies, and trying to increase the taxes and reduce the taxes, whatever. They were increasing only, never reducing. So they had to, their power was taken away from the state government. So there was a lot of resistance, That's why it took almost so many years to have the GST in India. And we were one of the last few countries which have imposed GST. So after 70 years, the first country which introduced GST was Germany, and thereafter it took almost 70 years for India to have the GST. Even our Prime Minister, he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He also resisted that there should not be GST initially. Okay, fine. So because they are going to lose a lot of money as taxes. Okay, and the GST is actually taxed on the basis of it's a destination-based tax. Wherever the people are buying goods, they have to pay GST. Like suppose in the state of Bengal, there's a lot of consumption happening. Suppose, for example, a lot of people are, consuming goods. So all the revenue will go to West Bengal, even if the goods are manufactured in Karnataka or Gujarat or Maharashtra. So the manufacturing state will lose money, and the consuming states will make money. So this was an anomaly there. Okay, so that's why people were not agreeing. Okay, so they found some kind of a solution. We'll talk about that solution also in our course of learning of GST. So it came to India that finally we decide that we are going to have GST in 2017. So preventing cascading effect, wider tax base leading to increased tax collection, simplified compliances, so that business can focus only on their business rather than on compliances. So we have only. So this is like focusing only on business and forgetting about what the law is, because there is only one law now. Okay, so they could just simply focus ease of doing business. So this would result into. So if you look at the revenue, how the government has been collecting revenue. So earlier there was a fear that the government will not get enough revenue from this new. If everything is replaced by one, will the government will get money? So they started in 2017 with 82,000 crores per annum. This is annual average. Okay, yearly average. So say 82,000 crores, and now it is 1,66,000. This happens to be like, I think this is a monthly figure, okay, on an average. So I'll just come back to this because there's a further slide. I'll share this thing. Okay, so 1,66,000 is a monthly kind of an average of GST. Okay, at the moment. So GST is a comprehensive indirect tax on manufacture, sales, and consumption of goods as well as services. So there's only one tax now, which is called GST. It replaces all indirect taxes levied on goods and services by central government and state government. Is that clear? So there were various laws. Now only there is one body which is collecting the tax. Okay, there is only one tax. Okay, it replaces everything. So the state governments have given up their rights. Okay. So again the same thing. We used to have all these taxes. So they have been all become now GST. Features one nation, one tax, one market. Okay. Events are based on the concept of supply. No manufacturer, nothing. It's only when goods are being supplied to another person, then the event of tax comes into picture. Streamlining and cross-utilization of input tax credits, so that there is no cascading impact on taxes. Okay. So this I'll talk about more in detail as we reach to that point, because suppose, for example, I am paying tax. Okay. It is the ultimate consumer who pays the tax. All the people, if the goods are passing from manufacturer to the wholesaler to the retailer, ultimately to the consumer. So consumer is going to pay the tax. All other taxes which are paid, they will get, everybody will get input tax credit. Okay. Suppose, like for example, a Maruti is manufacturing cars. So they are buying tires, they are buying steel, they are buying, all this engine from so many people. So they have to pay taxes when they buy. Okay. But all the taxes which they pay, when they sell it to the final consumer, he is going to pay the tax. Suppose on a car, the tax is say 1 lakh rupees, for example, and they have paid 70,000 taxes on all the things like tires and everything. So they have to pay only 30,000. Maruti has to deposit only 30,000 with the government, because they have already paid 70,000 taxes on the parts which have been consumed for making a car. Okay. So ultimately 1 lakh will be paid by the customer who is using the car, isn't it? Of course, the car goes first to the distributor and then goes to the ultimate customer. So think that Maruti is selling directly to the customer, of course. Okay. So they are paying taxes on all the things which they are buying and then manufacturing car out of it. isn't it? So they have paid taxes on tires, they have paid taxes on steel, paint, engine, motor parts, whatever. Okay? So they will just keep a tab on that, how much taxes they have paid. Suppose they pay 70,000 rupees taxes for making one car, for example. And on that particular car they are selling, the tax is about, say, 1 lakh. So they are going to deposit only how much? 30,000.